We all have experienced those moments growing up where we drive past an open field and get super excited to see the cows or the lambs that may be grazing. To this day, as someone who grew up on farms, I still get excited to see them. Growing up, you probably thought that's where your milk, eggs, and meat came from. I'm sure that you were taught growing up that your products came from your local farms, not factory farms. Think about how much you know about the animal products that you consume and how it may affect the world. I didn't know a lot about what I ate until I started researching approximately 6 years ago. My research brings me here today to persuade you to help eliminate factory farms. The Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection should ban the use of factory farms. In order to help you understand why it should be banned, I'll be covering two things. First, being the effects of factory farming and why it should be banned. Then, I will explain how passing a ban will prevent negative effects on our world. To start, factory farming is an inhumane way of farming that affects our world. When you think of your food, factory farming is where you should think it's coming from. That's where most of your products come from. Milk, eggs, meat, and any other dairy thing you can think that you consume. According to Jessica Edson, a writer and editor for the Petpedia website, wrote on January 27th in 2020, in the U.S., 99% of farm animals are factory farmed. 99% is a big number. In Wisconsin, we're known for our dairy. And we're one of the biggest dairy states, not only in Wisconsin or in the United States, but in the world. So here, I have a graph that shows the amount of dairy farms that we have that are factory farm animals in Wisconsin alone. And as you can see, the state has a lot of red, which is a very high amount. Now, I'm going to move on to why do we care about factory farms? Factory farms produce excess waste and use excess resources. Things like antibiotics are used inside of our meat, which is not natural for our body. Antibiotics need to be used because it helps prevent diseases from overcrowding of these animals, and overcrowding causes diseases which can be put over to us. All of this excess waste can also cause problems like in the environment. According to Alex Blanchetta, who works in the Department of Anthropology for Tufts University, writes in February of 2019 for the Medical Anthropology Quarterly, animal manure also generates between 50 and 85% of the United States airborne ammonia emissions, which contributes to the acidification of soil and water. Now that's pretty explanatory. The acidification of soil and water is not natural for us. We have vegetables and fruits that are grown inside of that soil that is unnatural levels of acid, and not to mention we drink the water that is acidified by this. So what happens from this? People are getting sick and have higher risks of dying from factory farms. According to David Ehrenfeld, a professor of biology at Rutgers University, New Brunswick, states in a 1996 article for the New York Times, says that factory farming is the cause for mad cow disease because of the meat remnants that are fed to them. And that cannot be cooked, therefore it is consumed. Now, this article may be a little outdated, but everyone knows about mad cow disease. Mad cow disease was one of the biggest foodborne illnesses that was transferred over to humans and caused a lot of deaths in antibiotic resistance diseases. Now, it doesn't only cause diseases, but it also is just bad for the workers as well. According to Lindsay Patton, a writer and media manager for the One Green Planet, said in 2015, an employee who works at a factory farm for 5 years has a 50% chance of being injured at the workplace. This could range from contracting diseases from handling the animal carcasses to severe injuries from the use of the line equipment. The line equipment is extremely dangerous and is not something that is used in something like organic farming. Now that you are aware of the causes of factory farming and what happens from it, I'll move on to how we will solve this. The Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection should ban a use of factory farming for our products. The easiest way to do this is transferring animals to organic-based farming, which will help reduce harmful effects. Organic farming is the use of natural ways of living for animals. So for dairy, that would be outside in a field grazing. And that helps a lot of things, such as cheaper feed because they're just grazing and you don't have to feed them as much as feed, less use of antibiotics, and it will help manage the amount of animals and the humane way that it's done. How this can be monitored is the farms can be monitored by DATCP, which is the Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection, should go monthly for following proper guidelines of organic farming. So what that means is they can go and check up on farms and make sure that everything is being monitored well. So they have pastures to graze, there are not too many animals on one farm, the manure is managed properly so that it doesn't get contaminated into soils and things like that. So a ban would eliminate any further damage to the environment that may come from factory farming. There are a lot of positive things of organic farming as an alternative. So the main thing is it reduces inhumane ways of living. It's not overcrowding, there's no abuse and things like that. There's also not antibiotics used, which is harmful to us and the animals. It's not fun for them, and it's just a natural way of living for these animals. In this visual aid, it has all the benefits or the main benefits of organic farming and the difference of it. So my opponent might say, factory farming is a huge moneymaker for agriculture, so why would we get rid of it? Well, I can understand why that would be a fair argument. I don't agree. The Pivot Food website writes in 2020 in the article Animal Diseases, outbreaks can result in costly livestock losses as a result of both infections and the intentional culling of flocks or herds, as well as supply chain interruptions, cessation of imports-exports activity, decreased consumer demand, diminished market prices, and significant reputational damage, even to factory farming operations whose livestock have not been directly affected. So what that means is it's really costly to have factory farming because you have more animals to maintain and there's more chances of diseases, which you have to manage, otherwise it will kill off all of your animals, and that's just not something that will happen with organic farming. Another source is Catherine Martigino, a writer and sustainable expert from the University of Toronto, writes for the Tree Hugger website on October 11, 2018. The study concluded that organic farming is 22 to 35% more profitable for farmers than conventional agriculture. So organic farming has more work that goes into it, but at the end of the day, it's better for the farmers, and farmers are making a living and they contribute to the economy just as much as factory farming. So they're putting more work into it, therefore they can sell their products for higher. And while the pricing may seem a little bit higher than traditional conventional ways of farming, our fruits and vegetables and our meat is totally worth being more expensive. But it's not detrimental. And that's why I believe that the opponent is not correct of it being a totally defeating thing to our economy if factory farming went away. So in conclusion, a ban on factory farms in Wisconsin should be implemented. A ban will reduce any negative effects it has on our life and increase positive things in our life. If a ban is passed, everything you thought of as a kid can be true for yours. Those farms you drive past will be the animals you get your food from. Our world will become a better place with no factory farms. So make a better world for yourself and for your future. And here's my notes.